Hi, my name is Brian Benson with James Bean Estate Sales, and I wanted to talk to Hi, my name is Brian Benson with James Bean Estate Sales, and today I want to talk to you about two sales that I looked at, and they're both kind of different in a different way. And the first sale was about 20 some odd years ago. I get a call from a lady, and she said, we have this really great sale, and you just won't believe how great all the stuff was. And she's trying to describe how good the stuff was and what the stuff was. And I said, okay, well, great, we'll come out and take a look at it. And she gave us the address. And I looked at the address, and I knew immediately this address was in a very terrible part of town. Not just a terrible part of town as far as crime. We're talking a part of town that never had any money. It was just really one of the worst parts of town. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go look at it, but we decided to go. So we show up at this house, and the house was boarded up, totally boarded up. There was no electricity on the house, because she'd already warned us. There's two cars sitting in front of the house that they're up on blocks because somebody has stolen the tires off the car. I mean, and we pull up, we look at the house, I look at James, I said, let's just go. There's no way. And as we're trying to pull around because it's in a cul-de-sac, she pulls in behind us, blocks us in, so we have to now actually go out and talk to her. So we go into the house, and we're dreading, what we're going to see. And we open up the door, and the very first thing we see is, we saw Roseanne's sofa. We're talking about that early American horrible monstrosity from the show with the Afghan draped across the back. It was like it was out of that set. And then sitting right next to it was this phenomenal china cabinet that was absolutely just gorgeous and breathtaking, and it was one of those pieces that at the time, was worth $2,000 or $3,000 at any store. So we start walking through, and we start realizing that, the house is a kind of a contradiction of terms, because it was either the worst of the worst, the stuff that, really is the stuff that you'd find on Big Trash Day, or it was phenomenally good furniture. So we asked her, I said, what's the deal? Why is there so much good stuff here and why is there so much bad stuff here? And she said, well, what happened was my uncle was gay in the 60s, and he was kicked out by his family, and my grandfather took him in, and he raised him, and then when he moved off to New York, when he would come back, he would bring back all this nice furniture, and he'd give it to the grandfather. And the grandfather, over several years, accumulated all this stuff for free from this one uncle of hers. And that explained, kind of how he got it all. And we did the sale for her. What we had to do is we had to move all the good stuff out of the house to get it out of the neighborhood, and we did a big sale at our store back when we had a store. It was a great sale, and then we also did a smaller sale in the house to sell off all the small stuff. And I always remember that, you never judge an estate sale what the neighborhood is in, because you don't know what's going to be there. And like I said, this was some of the best stuff we ever saw in the worst part of town. And about 15 years later, I get a call from a lady, and once again, she goes, I've got this really great sale. She goes, you just won't believe how good this stuff is. And I said, oh, really? She goes, yeah. And I'm talking to her about it, and she just keeps, saying, you just won't believe how good this is. She just won't believe how good this is. This is the best sale you'll ever do in your entire life. So I said, okay, well, we'll come out and take a look at it. And she gives me the address, and sure enough, it's right back in this neighborhood. And I'm just like, there's no way this is going to happen again. So I go to look at the appointment and open up the door. We go inside, and no, it was the worst of the worst that you have ever seen. And she was so impressed with everything. And I walked in, and the only highlight of the entire house was she had 5 Hummels that looked like they'd been beaten with a baseball bat, and then it looked like somebody used their feet to re-glue them back together. There was this terrible, awful green sectional that was ripped and stained. She had these worn out high heel shoes that, were a low end brand, but she was insisting we're going to sell for at least $200 or $300 a pair. She had just everything she kept pulling out. She said, oh, well, this is worth so much money. I was like, no, it's not. And, after talking to her, I said, we're not going to be able to help you. I said, even if this was a sale we could do for you, we couldn't do the sale because your expectations are so high, you're never going to be happy. I could sell $5 million out of that house, and she would still think that was worth more. And, and I told her, we can't help you. And then for months later, she would call me, to the point I had to start blocking her number. She would call me and she'd pretend to be somebody else. She would call me from different phone numbers. But it was always, she would start talking about the same stuff and I'd recognize it. And then finally she had started having family members call me. And then I had to explain to them, no, we can never do the sale for you, and explain to them that, she's very over-exaggerated. But it was kind of interesting because I was like, there's no way this could happen again in the same neighborhood. And no, you're right, it could not happen again. It did not happen again. But the first sale was a really interesting sale. The second sale we didn't do. Interesting in its own way, but like I said, you never know what you're going to go look at. Sometimes the nicest houses have the worst stuff. Sometimes the worst houses have the nicest stuff. And it's always fun to go out and explore and look at the houses and kind of see what's there and see the variety of life that is actually out there to go see.
So if you'd like to hear more crazy stories about things that have happened at our estate sales or back when we used to own an antique store and an antique mall, feel free to subscribe to our channel or sign up for our email list on our website at jamesbeanestatesales.com. And every week you'll get an email notifying you of our new videos and also all of our upcoming sales. Thanks.